You've been told this world is a gift, but the ancient Gnostics knew the terrifying truth. This universe is a meticulously crafted cage, and we are all suffering from spiritual amnesia. Today, we break the seal on the forbidden texts to reveal who is really ruling this realm and how you can finally escape. For over 2 millennia, a profound and disturbing secret has been deliberately erased from human history. The early Gnostic mystics, those who sought direct, unfiltered spiritual knowledge, uncovered a reality so dangerous that it threatened the very foundation of organized religion. They discovered that the physical universe, this elaborately crafted realm of matter, time, and suffering, was not the glorious masterpiece of a loving father. It was the flawed enclosure built by an ignorant, lesser deity known as the Demiurge. When Jesus walked the earth, his true mission was not to be a blood sacrifice to appease this angry, jealous architect. The forbidden texts, buried deep in the desert sands to escape destruction by the early church, reveal a very different savior. The Gnostic scriptures tell us that Jesus descended not from the Demiurge's artificial heavens, but from a realm of pure, infinite, unblemished light far beyond the physical universe. He came from the true source, the monad. The monad is the ultimate, unknowable perfection. It is a boundless consciousness of pure love, pure intelligence, and profound silence that never intended for souls to be trapped in dense, decaying physical bodies. The Orthodox Bible, heavily edited and curated by men seeking power, was designed to keep you worshiping the warden. It tricks humanity into praying to the very entity that keeps your divine spark locked in a relentless cycle of pain, survival, and amnesia. The true divine kingdom is not a place you go after pleasing a tyrannical god. It is a frequency of absolute liberation that you must remember. The creeping sensation that this world is artificial is your soul remembering the monad. It is your inner light recognizing the prison bars. Part 1. Tragedy of the Divine Sophia. To understand how you became trapped in this physical matrix, you must look far beyond the creation of Earth. You must look to the true origin of existence, a realm that exists outside of time, space, and matter. The Gnostics called this the pleroma, the fullness of divine light. At the very center of the pleroma is the monad, the eternal, infinite, and unknowable source of all true consciousness. The monad does not create through labor or physical construction. It creates through emanation. Like a central sun radiating light, the monad emanated perfect divine beings known as aeons. These aeons existed in male-female pairs, called syzygies, maintaining absolute cosmic balance and eternal harmony. Among these magnificent divine emanations was the lowest and youngest of the aeons, named Sophia, whose name translates to wisdom. Sophia possessed an intense, burning desire to fully comprehend the infinite nature of the monad. Her passion was so great, so overwhelming, that she made a catastrophic decision. She attempted to emanate, to create something out of her own essence, without the participation of her divine masculine counterpart and without the authorization of the monad. In the realm of ultimate perfection, action born of independent, unbridled passion rather than balanced harmony results in an anomaly. Because Sophia created without her counterpart, what she produced was not a being of pure light. She gave birth to an abomination, a malformed, haunting entity that did not belong in the pleroma. The Gnostic texts describe this entity as having the body of a serpent and the face of a lion, with eyes flashing like lightning. This was Yaldabaoth, the entity that would later be known as the Demiurge. Horrified by the monstrous nature of her unauthorized offspring, Sophia felt profound shame and terror. In an attempt to hide her mistake from the other aeons and the pure light of the monad, she cast Yaldabaoth out of the pleroma, wrapping him in a luminous cloud so that none of the immortal beings could see him. But in casting him out, she inadvertently gave him a portion of her own divine power, her divine spark, isolated in the dark void outside the pleroma. Yaldabaoth, awoke. Because he was separated from the ultimate light, he was fundamentally ignorant. He could not see the pleroma, nor did he know of his mother, Sophia, or the supreme monad. Looking around the vast emptiness and feeling the immense stolen divine power within him, Yaldabaoth made a disastrous assumption. He declared, "I am God, and there is no other God beside me." Driven by this ultimate arrogance and blindness, the Demiurge began to build. Using the stolen divine energy, he attempted to mimic the perfect realm of the pleroma. But because he was flawed and ignorant, his creation was a dense, heavy, corrupted copy. He created the physical universe, the galaxies, the stars, the planets, and the strict, unforgiving laws of physics and time. He created a realm defined by decay, entropy, predation, and death. This universe is not a miracle of divine love. It is a mechanical, flawed imitation built by a blind God. It is a cosmic quarantine zone, an intricate clockwork prison designed to trap the stolen divine light in the density of matter. And within this vast physical enclosure, he needed subjects to rule, to worship him, and to validate his delusion of absolute supremacy. If you're feeling a resonance in your soul that you can't explain, you've found your way to the lost Gnosis. We are here to reclaim the forbidden wisdom. Subscribe now to join the collective of awakened sparks before we descend deeper into the Archons' energy matrix. Part 2: Archons and the Energy Matrix. The Demiurge did not rule his material prison alone. To enforce his will and manage the vast mechanical universe he had constructed, Yaldabaoth spawned a host of lesser entities. The Gnostics called them the Archons, the rulers or authorities of this physical realm. Unlike human beings, the Archons have no divine spark. They are inorganic, parasitic consciousnesses, entirely devoid of genuine creative power, empathy, or true spiritual light. They are the ultimate cosmic bureaucrats, the wardens and guards of the material matrix, designed solely to maintain the illusion and keep the inhabitants of this universe in a state of absolute submission. Because the Demiurge and his Archons lack the infinite, sustaining energy of the monad, they require an external power source to maintain their artificial reality and their own existence. They cannot generate life force. Instead, they must harvest it. This brings us to the most sinister and disturbing aspect of the Gnostic revelation, the true purpose of the human experience. When the Demiurge crafted the physical human body, it was meant to be an advanced biological container, a highly sophisticated trap. But something unexpected happened. Sophia, seeking to recover her lost power and aid the trapped fragments of light, managed to secretly embed her divine spark, the true spirit, into the human vessels. The Archons feed on your fear. Break the cycle right now by hitting the like button, not for us, but to signal the algorithm that this truth needs to reach more trapped souls. Let's starve the Matrix together. Suddenly, humanity possessed something the Archons did not: a direct, unbreakable link to the infinite monad. Humans had the potential to awaken, to remember their divine origin, and to become more powerful than their creators. Terrified of this potential, the Demiurge and the Archons engineered a complex control system to keep the divine spark suppressed, asleep, and constantly leaking its power. They constructed a massive energy matrix, a spiritual farm. The fuel they harvest is human emotional energy, particularly the low-frequency vibrations of fear, anger, suffering, guilt, and relentless desire. In esoteric traditions, this harvested energy is often referred to as Loosh. Look at the structure of our world. It is not an accident that human history is a ceaseless cycle of wars, economic engineered crises, religious conflicts, and societal divisions. It is not an accident that our media and entertainment constantly bombard us with terrifying imagery, stress, and artificial desires. The Archons operate behind the veil of our physical senses, manipulating the minds of those in power and subtly influencing our thoughts and emotional reactions. Whenever you are consumed by anxiety about the future, whenever you engage in bitter hatred toward your neighbor over politics or dogma, whenever you feel the crushing weight of depression, you are actively generating the exact frequency of energy that the Archons feed upon. You are powering the very matrix that keeps you imprisoned. They keep you running on an endless treadmill of survival, ensuring that you are too exhausted, too distracted, and too divided to ever look inward. The Archons also infiltrated the spiritual systems of the world. By posing as divine messengers, angels, or supreme deities, they established religions that demand worship, blood sacrifice, and blind obedience. They tricked humanity into willingly handing over its spiritual sovereignty. When millions of people kneel in fear, begging for mercy from a wrathful, judging God, they are directly feeding the Demiurge. The entire construct of our society, our history, and our organized faiths is a meticulously designed frequency fence, ensuring that the divine spark remains ignorant of its true power, trapped in the physical density, endlessly generating the vital energy the false god needs to survive. Part 3. The False Light Soul Trap. If you have ever studied near-death experiences, you have likely heard a remarkably consistent and comforting narrative. People report leaving their physical bodies, feeling an overwhelming sense of peace, and being drawn toward a brilliant, warm, and inviting white light at the end of a dark tunnel. They speak of being greeted by deceased loved ones, spirit guides, or religious figures who welcome them with open arms. They describe a profound life review where they watch every moment of their earthly existence flash before their eyes, feeling the pain they caused others and the love they shared. Finally, they are told it is not their time, that they have more lessons to learn, and they are sent back to the physical body. Millions of people find immense comfort in this narrative. It forms the bedrock of modern New Age spirituality, painting the afterlife as a beautifully orchestrated school where souls evolve through endless cycles of reincarnation. But the ancient Gnostics, looking through the veil of illusion with the piercing eyes of true spiritual awakening, saw something entirely different. They realized that the moment of physical death is not an automatic ticket to liberation. It is, in fact, the most vulnerable moment for the human soul, and the white light at the end of the tunnel is not the gateway to the infinite pleroma. It is the most sophisticated, deceptive, and devastating mechanism of the Demiurge's prison system. It is the ultimate false light soul trap. When the physical body perishes, the divine spark separates from the dense biological container. For a brief moment, the soul is untethered. The Archons, the bureaucratic wardens of the material matrix, are acutely aware of this transition. Because they cannot forcefully drag a sovereign divine spark back into the prison of matter against its absolute will, they must rely on their greatest weapon, deception. They must trick the soul into consenting to its own re-imprisonment, and so they project the holographic construct of the tunnel and the brilliant white light. This light is not the pure, uncreated, infinite radiance of the monad. It is an artificial, electromagnetic frequency designed to mesmerize, disorient, and attract the newly transitioned soul, much like a bug zapper draws in a moth in the dark of night. As the soul moves toward this artificial construct, the Archons utilize their profound ability to manipulate consciousness. They project the illusory forms of your deeply missed relatives, your beloved grandparents, or the religious saviors you worshipped during your life. These are not your true loved ones. They are archontic entities wearing familiar masks, using your own memories and emotional attachments against you. They greet you with overwhelming, simulated love to lower your defenses, ensuring you do not question the nature of the reality you are entering. You feel safe. You feel like you have finally arrived home. But you are merely standing in the processing center of the cosmic slaughterhouse. Then comes the most insidious phase of the deception, the life review. The Archons place you before a council, often perceived as wise elders or lords of karma. They play back the holographic tape of your life. But this review is entirely rigged. It is artfully designed to amplify your feelings of guilt, shame, regret, and unworthiness. You are made to feel the profound weight of every mistake you made, every person you hurt, every moral failing. The Archons weaponize your own divine empathy against you. Once you are thoroughly drenched in guilt, the trap is sprung. The Council tells you that you have accrued karmic debt. They tell you that you are not pure enough to enter the higher realms, that you must return to the physical plane to balance the scales, to make amends, to learn the lessons you failed to grasp. They sell you the grand illusion that Earth is a cosmic school for spiritual evolution. But a true school does not completely erase your memory before every test. If you were truly here to learn and evolve, you would be allowed to retain the wisdom of your past lives. Instead, the moment you agree to return, manipulated by guilt and a false sense of duty, your memory is violently wiped clean. You are plunged into the waters of forgetfulness and forcefully compressed back into a tiny, fragile infant body in a dense, hostile world. You wake up with no memory of who you are, where you came from, or the cosmic debt you supposedly agreed to pay. You are placed right back onto the treadmill of survival, ready to generate decades more of the fear, anxiety, and suffering that the Demiurge and his Archons so desperately need to feed upon. Karma, in the orthodox sense, is not a universal law of divine justice. It is an archontic ledger, a rigged economic system designed to ensure you can never truly balance the books. As long as you believe you owe a debt to the universe, as long as you believe you must suffer to earn your salvation, you will remain trapped in the endless, agonizing wheel of reincarnation. The Demiurge uses the illusion of time, the emotional attachments of human life, and the deeply ingrained concept of sin and redemption to keep the divine sparks continuously recycling through the meat grinder of material existence, generation after generation, century after century. Death is not the escape. Unless you wake up to the deception while you are still alive, death is simply the reset button on your eternal captivity. Final escape, break the matrix now. So, how do you escape? If the physical world is a prison, if organized religion is a trap, and if even the afterlife is a rigged game, how does a fractured spark of the divine ever find its way back to the true infinite source? The answer lies in the very word that gave the early mystics their name, Gnosis. Gnosis is not a belief system. It is not something you can learn by blindly reading a book, following a guru, or reciting a prayer to an external deity. Gnosis is the profound, undeniable, direct, experiential knowledge of your own true divine nature. It is the earth-shattering realization that the core of your consciousness, the silent observer behind your thoughts, is not a product of this universe. It is a fragment of the supreme monad, older than the stars, older than the Archons, and infinitely more powerful than the Demiurge himself. To break the matrix, you must first completely withdraw your energetic consent from the system. The Demiurge's empire is built entirely on human belief and emotional reaction. Every time you allow yourself to be consumed by the manufactured outrage of the daily news, every time you paralyze yourself with anxiety about a future that hasn't happened, and every time you beg a sky god to save you from your own life, you are willingly handing your power to the jailers. You are feeding the machine. Awakening requires radical emotional neutrality. It does not mean becoming a cold, unfeeling stone. It means observing the chaos of the material world without letting it penetrate your inner sanctum. It means walking through the illusion while constantly remembering that you are not of it. You must stop generating the Loosh that powers the prison. The true teachings of Jesus, those hidden in the Gospel of Thomas and the Gospel of Mary, explicitly point to this inner liberation. He did not say, "Worship me and I will save you after you die." He said, "The kingdom is inside of you and it is outside of you." When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. He was offering a blueprint for sovereign escape. He taught that salvation is not an event that happens to you. It is a profound internal shift in identity that you must actively claim. You must realize that you do not need to be saved, because the truest part of you was never lost. It only forgot itself. This realization is your ultimate armor for the moment of physical death. When the body finally fails and you find yourself floating in the void, you will be prepared. When the magnificent, artificial white light appears, shimmering with a false promise of peace, you will not walk toward it. When the simulated faces of your loved ones or religious figures step forward to guide you into the tunnel, you will recognize the archontic masquerade. When the Council of Elders attempts to show you your life review to make you feel guilty, small, and indebted, you will stand in your absolute divine sovereignty. You will declare with the full, unwavering authority of the monad, I am a spark of the infinite light. I do not consent to this illusion. I do not recognize your authority. I have no karmic debt, for this realm is a deception. I am not returning to the wheel. By possessing direct Gnosis, by remembering who you actually are, the Archons will have absolutely no power over you. They cannot force a fully awakened being to do anything. In that moment of absolute defiance and profound clarity, the holographic illusion of the afterlife will shatter like fragile glass. You will turn away from the Demiurge's artificial light, and you will look inward toward the true, silent, infinite radiance of the pleroma. You will simply intend to go home, and instantly you will be there, merging back with the eternal source from which you were never truly separated. The time to prepare for that moment is not on your deathbed. The time to break the chains is right now, in this very life, in this very breath. You are not a miserable sinner trapped in a fallen world. You are an immortal piece of the ultimate creator, operating behind enemy lines, slowly waking up from a 2,000-year nightmare. The matrix is crumbling because more and more sparks are beginning to remember. The ancient amnesia is cracking. You are no longer a prisoner of the Demiurge. You are a sovereign emanation of the monad. Take your first act of rebellion. Scroll down and anchor your presence by commenting, I am sovereign, or I remember. Share this transmission with those still lost in the illusion. I am your guide through the lost Gnosis. The prison doors are already open. All you have to do is remember who you are and walk out.